Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to this episode of The Whole Truth. Today I am joined by a dear friend of mine to talk about some issues that I think are so important. My friend is Elizabeth Navarro Berrocal, and she is a licensed professional counselor and a national certified counselor who specializes in women's mental health. And I think this topic is so important because as women, I think that at some point through all of our lives, we're impacted by mood disorders, depression, anxiety, from teenagers and the hormonal changes that they have to go through at puberty, the pressures imposed upon them by social media, hormonal changes during pregnancy and postpartum. As we age, things change, life struggles, all the pressures with jobs, families, relationships, divorces, everything we experience.
Blended families, Wendy, is another huge issue.
So many things for women to deal with that are unique. And unfortunately, women still have a lot of stigma and shame and often don't want to share these crises that they go through. And I want for you to share some of your wisdom with our audience and let them know that we all suffer with these situations and that there is help from loving, compassionate people who can guide us through these times in our life.
Thank you, Wendy.
So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Your form of therapy is fascinating to me because without knowing that much about it, I'm more familiar with the old school traditional cognitive behavioral therapy. And that's not really what you offer patients.
No, Wendy, I really like to concentrate on the motivational interviewing, right? So I don't believe that therapy should be, or talk therapy should be a forever process. I do think that it's necessary for people who go into therapy to set some sort of goals, and most importantly, to really empower themselves, right? To really see a light at the end of the tunnel. I think that therapy at any given point in someone's life is absolutely necessary. And that goes from, everyday people who are in the corporate world to even professionals, Wendy. Everyone has these life stressors that are more significant now than ever before, I think.
I agree. And I love this philosophy because I think that's one of the reasons why some women won't seek therapy. One, because they feel like it's just a never-ending process.
Or I'm not crazy.
Right.
I don't need to see a therapist. Oh, I can deal with this by myself.
Exactly.
Oh, it's just my period. So there's,
But that whole mindset is so limiting and it prevents them from empowering themselves, like you said, to heal and then to have those tools through the rest of their life whenever situations occur that stress us or that cause us a lot of emotional anxiety, that we've got some tools that we learn from our therapists how to deal with it. So I love it. And I mean now, especially with all this hashtag Me Too business going on, people at all levels, right? The highest paid actresses, people you wouldn't have expected, suffer from these things. I love that people are finally throwing off these shackles of shame and embarrassment.
Yes, of guilt. Guilt is the worst of all the emotions, is those chains of guilt. That it's imperative for a person in order for them to move on to the next point in life, a more positive point in life, getting rid of those shackles of guilt. Guilt is by far and away one of the worst emotions.
It really is a useless emotion.
It is.
And a lot of us are raised
in
cultures and with belief systems where guilt is just kind of, you have to deal with it. And it's so sad to have to spend, the first 3 or 4 decades of your life before you seek help.
Oh, Wendy, absolutely. And you said the magic words. When you said culture, take, for example, our own culture, Latinas, we're made to feel guilty if we're not home enough with our children and made to feel guilty if, we're not furthering our careers and being in a higher level of education. So, we're kind of hit from all sorts of ways. And so how do you, women go through a situational thought process of how do you juggle all of these things? How do you juggle all of these stresses? How do I be a mom for my children at home and at the same time further my professional career? And so there's a lot of guilt in culture. I love that you said
it's incredible.
You put those
it
two
is
together.
what would be something that what are your words of wisdom? Because I know I'm not a therapist, I don't have any training in it, but I just tell them, like, just give up one thing. I'll tell you right now, I don't cook anything. You come over to my house, we are eating takeout food or somebody else is cooking. So I don't even try anymore. I've got too many other things, and so I let certain things go. And I don't know if that's the right answer for them.
I think at any point in any woman's life, at any given circumstance, I think there is no right answer, right? There, you do what works best for you. As long as your children are on a happy path, they have a great relationship with mom, with dad, I think that those are the most important things. Sometimes families, mothers, we just have to wing it. Absolutely. We have to wing it, you know.
Yeah, the playbook isn't working, and so we have to make it up as we go along.
You know, and the guilt that mom has to be home at 5 o'clock to have dinner cooking and ready to go so the children can eat by 6. You know, that's really kind of out the door in today's age. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, I think some of us still labor under that.
Unfortunately.
And it doesn't happen. And then after the kids get taken care of, then you've got husbands or boyfriends or relationships that have their needs, emotional, physical, whatever it is. And women just put themselves at the very bottom of the whole spectrum. Exactly. So they tend to suffer, and that wreaks havoc completely. So these emotional stressors manifest physically. Sometimes women will present with things like migraines or chronic fatigue or abdominal pain. And it takes a good relationship and a good rapport with patients to get to the bottom of it, when sometimes it's an emotional struggle that they're dealing with.
Absolutely.
Tell me about some of the ancillary therapies. You're a hypnotherapist as well.
Yes, I am. I really focus on guided imagery. I really believe that helps and has amazing results with smoking, with weight loss. And I think that this really allows a person to go to the next level of meditation.
Yes.
And most importantly, how to self-hypnotize, how to get to a point themselves where they're feeling very relaxed in any given high stress situation. So it's important for people to learn these skills, Wendy. And
I love hypnosis. I've had one hypnotherapy session to work on something, and it was amazing. I felt like I did grow a little bit in the area I was working on, and it was the most refreshing hour that I had in months. So when you said hypnotherapy and meditation, do they activate the same parts of the brain when you're doing that with patients? No.
Technically, yes, in theory. I mean, that's really what hypnosis is in a lot of sense of the word, especially with the guided imagery, is meditation, right? So you take your brain to a place where you feel the most comfortable. So that hypnosis can tell you on top of a mountain, or at the very bottom of a sea, or on the beach, or somewhere where you feel safest, right? Away from any and all stressors of life, thoughts. I mean, your brain has to be a blank slate at that moment. And then you also have times where people are a little bit more susceptible to hypnosis than others, you know, and you do kind of a little hypno test initially to see how receptive somebody is to hypnosis, because there's people that will not get hypnotized under any, you know, sense of the word at all. They're just
too resistant to it. Is it like an intentional block?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's unfortunate. This is just a slight bit of a tangent, but I am the biggest fan of meditation and all the science about meditation for people who do have high stress lives. Meditating as little as 12 to 15 minutes a day has been studied with MRIs and hormone measurements by researchers out of all over, you know, the important schools, Harvard, Stanford in Europe, and they have found people who meditate regularly can have a decrease in the size of their amygdala and increased size of their cortical matter in other areas of the brain, and the amygdala is one of those like stress, fight or flight response centers of the brain. So for people who reject these ideas that therapy, meditation, hypnosis can improve your life and have physiologic impacts on your mood, on your sleep, on your memory, on your joy, on your physical health, you're absolutely wrong. And there are volumes of reams of data, literature, science to support it. So I love that you incorporate these more holistic things.
Absolutely. I think mental health has to be part of an integrative process, right? And you being a physician, you know better than anybody. It's you have to attack something in all aspects, right? You have to. And I mean, how closely are physical health and mental health related? I mean, how many women, when you go into your practice and say, Wendy, like you said, the somatic symptoms, right, of depression, for example, Wendy, I have continuous headaches, or my back hurts, or, you know, I don't know what it is. I'm feeling tired. I'm you know, loss of appetite, loss of sleep. And we can manifest after all the blood work is said and done. And you can't find anything. You know, you begin to take into consideration that there are other aspects to to that.
But so sad that we like subject them to like all these tests and then all these unnecessary medications, studies, whatnot, when sometimes the root of the problem has got something really tangible that we just need to recognize and hear and then address properly. So I think that's beautiful. I think depression is such an important condition, and so many women are affected by it. And once we've kind of ruled out hormone issues and things like that, I always try so hard to encourage patients to seek out a therapist rather than just turn to a bottle of a prescription SSRI or SNRI, because that's what I tell them, that's like the crutch, right? That may help you, and yes, you may need neurotransmitter support for some period of time, but over the long term, we have to figure out ways to help your body replenish its neurotransmitter supplies, whether it's by taking tryptophan or 5-HTP or vitamin D, exercising, but you need to be able to talk to somebody about what was the origin of these stressors, and then recognize it and deal with it again, so that you're not on these horrible drugs for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. And I really do feel that drugs alongside talk therapy is really the magical cure, because I think one by themselves, that's a little questionable, because at times I do feel that when a medication is given, I believe it's necessary in a majority of instances, but I also feel like it's kind of like a Band-Aid over an abscess, right? It'll stop the bleeding, but it really won't dig out the infection, right? And so to really get to the root of the situation is probably most helpful. And then alongside a good medication that works well with that individual, I think that that's really the magic.
I hope people will hear this, because this is exactly what I tell them. Like, this is a little crutch. I need to help you feel better right away, so that you can get out of bed, take care of yourself and your family. But you need to address the underlying problem, or it's never going to go away completely. And then the side effects with those medicines too. So how is your approach to anxiety? Is it different or?
Anxiety comes in a bunch of different forms. Anxiety disorders are inclusive of panic attacks. It's inclusive of a general anxiety disorder where it's, 6 months plus of excessive worry, excessive feelings of anxiety. It's a very common diagnosis for women, absolutely. Because there's so many more stressors, I think, in today's given time. The social media aspect, Wendy, of everything, and the perception that women have to either keep up with the Joneses, or in this case, keep up with the girls on Instagram. And it's just an unrealistic perspective on how women should view themselves. Absolutely. Every woman comes in a different shape, size, color, and I think ultimately it's finding that internal happiness, right? And finding key point number one, which is yourself, to find that happiness. That's the road to happiness. It's not, how many followers or how many likes you have on Instagram and Facebook.
That's not where your value lies, and that's not where you're going to find your peace and joy in the world.
Absolutely.
Good for you. I love that. And as part of the integrative picture is, we really want to look at what's causing it. And sometimes, I can't identify it. You probably can better than I can, but in my limited office time with them, you can't identify it. But you see people who, with the anxiety, will become almost homebound, can't even interact outside, and it's, it obviously debilitates them. And
and then you see what kind of cracks me up in that way is you'll see a picture on Instagram of the very same person that is absolutely different in real life than how they portray themselves on social media. And so that perception is just, it's fake.
It is.
It's fake.
I try to do this when I'm on social media and looking at it, just like know that, because sometimes you do know the background story and you see people's pictures and you just nod and think, this is what they need right now. I'm not going to judge or be critical of them, but you have to look at all the social media through a very filtered lens to have a real idea. I think everybody knows that. But I also, as a functional medicine doctor, sometimes you want to try to work with their diet or their exercise, because exercise has got so much data that it helps to support good mood health over the course of people's lives, in addition to their physical health, of course. But the mood benefits from regular exercise, and you don't have to go to CrossFit for 2 hours a day. I mean, just a little bit of activity, walking, things like yoga,
Absolutely.
Great.
And, you know, going back to, you know, your medical practice, Wendy, I also noticed that a lot of women are coming and seeing me for infertility issues and anxiety around getting pregnant.
Yes.
And, you know, more so than I've ever really noticed, even in the past 7 years when I've been in private practice, I see
Yes.
more women with anxiety related to infertility and pregnancy issues than ever before. And I can imagine, you know,
Bless their heart.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So much stress surrounding these problems, and so limited treatments. And then when patients do require therapy, so expensive.
Wow.
So the pressures internally and externally for women to have these perfect families,
Yes.
it breaks my heart. So I'm
Yes.
glad that you're there for
Yes.
them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love you, and I think you're such
You're
a
so
compassionate,
sweet.
wonderful
So sweet.
resource, and you'll have your doctorate completed
Thank you,
any
Wendy.
minute now.
Thank you,
So
Wendy.
I just want to get the word out to patients that you do not have to feel stigmatized. Any woman who's honest with you will share that we've all suffered from crises, times of depression, anxiety.
Yes.
I mean, I'm the first one to admit that I've used antidepressant medications on occasion, and felt that they were necessary.
Absolutely.
But for me, the whole goal was a brief period of time and then to come off them. Like, I don't need that crutch forever, but I need someone to hold my hand a little
Absolutely.
while, pull me up.
Absolutely.
Tell me the name of your new practice.
Yes, it's called
Yes.
the Center for Women and Family.
And it's located on 410.
410 in Babcock, so right outside
Absolutely.
the medical center.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on the first floor, and yeah,
So-
I'm open to you guys.
Yes.
You know, all women, and of course spouses. We can't really
Yeah.
totally marginalize.
They come
them.
along, right?
But yes, they
Yeah.
can come along. You know, as a spouse.
Right.
You know, and part of the family unit
Right.
as far as therapy is concerned. But I really, really love. You know, what I do as far as my profession. I love working with women's issues
Yeah.
specifically. And really, Wendy, like I said, there's so many of us that as far as women are concerned, you know, I see women tearing each other down, and really our ultimate goal should be building one another and empowering
Yep.
one another and saying,
Helping each other.
absolutely.
Building the village, right? Because
Absolutely.
it takes a village.
Yes.
So that's why I
Yes.
wanted you to come and speak, because you're so
you, Wendy.
passionate and gifted,
you.
and the way you touch people's lives. These are important things, and I hope that people will hear that you don't have to feel bad if you're struggling with anxiety or depression. We can help you. There are people who will listen, who will care, and can give you the tools to help you pull yourself up, in addition to pharmacology if it's necessary,
absolutely.
but that you don't have to feel overwhelmed by depression and mental health. Thank you so much for joining us.